Are we recording? Yes, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Zee Talks FPL. We are now recording the Gameweek 11 podcast. Firstly, I hope you guys had a good Gameweek 10. Uh, just a heads up that I am recording this podcast on a Monday morning, which means that Gameweek 10 is not yet completed. We have the last game that's between Sunderland and Everton that will be played later tonight. But I thought I'll just record this. I had some time earlier this morning. The schedule has been a little busy for me, and also I felt that in the last 2 weeks there were not a lot of talking points, so it didn't really feel like recording the podcast. Right? I felt it would be quite redundant doing so. But yeah, I do have a few things to discuss now, and some trends, a lot of discussion in the community, a lot of frustration in the community as well about a lot of premium players not doing well. So we'll talk a bit about that. I think that's you look at players like Saka, for example, right, who's actually the most expensive Arsenal player, and Arsenal have been technically the best team in the league so far, but he's not really delivering. Right, he's not getting the FPL points like you would expect, and uh, to me that's not surprising. The same for the other expensive Arsenal attacker, that is Victor Gyökeres, and these are the players that I have covered extensively in my previous episode. So if you've not, you can just go back and have a listen, where I've just felt they're not really worth the money for a lot of factors. So we'll do a bit of discussion on that as well, and that's, according to me, purely down to one major point which I will cover. And it's not just about Saka. I think it's just about the football cycle as a whole, and I've tweeted about this on my X account multiple times as well, that every now and then football goes through cycles. So we had the previous cycle where Pep came into the Premier League, and he started playing out from the back, and everyone's started emulating that, and that cycle was almost 10 years back, and I feel that has now come to an end. Now we're looking at a different football cycle. So uh, I'll speak about it a little more in detail, but before that we'll just cover my game week 10 score. So I had an all right week. Still trying to get a big green arrow, and I feel it's coming. It's coming because I think this is 3 weeks in a row that I'm stuck in and around the 1.4, 1.5 million mark. Uh, in fact, last week in game week 9, I actually thought it was generally a very low scoring game, right? So I got like 49 points, but that was still better than a lot of scores that I was seeing on Twitter, and it was all going well. I had a big green arrow. I think I went up from 1.5 million to around 950k or something. That was before before the last game of that game week, where Everton played Spurs and they scored 3 goals. So Spurs players are, firstly, they're really highly owned, right? Van de Ven especially had really big ownership, and he didn't just keep a clean sheet. Spurs kept a clean sheet, and Van de Ven actually scored not one but 2 goals, and he also kept DEFCON, which is very rare. Van de Ven is not really the kind of player you would expect to get DEFCON points. So he had a monster score, got like 23 points, and because right now the gap between ranks is so small, that was a big hit. So all the good work that I had. Uh, in that game week, up until that point, up until the last game, was undone because of the Spurs clean sheet and Van de Ven getting those 23 points. So yeah, that pretty much turned out to be, a game week where I didn't really move from 1.5 million, and I was back to 1.5 million again, and it looks like it's pretty much the same uh, this game week as well. But the good thing is that I have not had a red arrow. I think even if later in the game week 10, the fixture that remains, Sunderland versus Everton, I think even if, let's say, one highly owned player does well, I don't think it'll affect me that much. I still expect to be in and around the 1.5 million mark, and that's not quite bad. It's still very early days. Remember, just a few weeks back, I was around 80k, around 300k. So it's not the end of the world. Like I said, that the gap between ranks is still very, very small. Just checking if, to make sure that we're still recording this. Yes, we absolutely are. We are almost 5 minutes into it. So yeah, very quickly, just to review my game week 10 score, I have ended up on 78 points with a -8. So I'm looking at a net score of 70 points for game week 10, which is not quite bad. uh, Nick Pope didn't keep a clean sheet. In fact, I felt he had really, very, very bad uh, game against West Ham. And honestly, against West Ham, you'd expect Newcastle to keep a clean sheet. But to me, surprisingly, it was almost like an anomaly where I felt that they were not quite up to it, right? Even in terms of the Newcastle attackers and their defense, they made a lot of individual errors as well. The build-up play was not very good, but these are the kind of games where someone like Nick Pope, even if Newcastle were bad and even if he had a bad game, he still came away with 3 points because he had about 6 saves in that game. So not too bad really in that perspective. And I think in the long run, you really expect Newcastle to keep a lot of clean sheets. So very happy with Nick Pope in goal generally. Uh, what I did was I made I think one, two, three changes this week, and Munoz was one of them. So Munoz came into my team. I took Senesi out because I honestly felt that despite keeping a few clean sheets, Bournemouth look quite shaky at the back to me. Right, uh, they're not looking very good at the back. And in Munoz, what I'm getting is basically a Palace defense that should keep a clean sheet every now and then. But at the same time, even though he was not very attacking versus Brentford, uh, I think that was purely tactical, given the way Brentford set up. But I think from a long term perspective, again, I think I like having Munoz in my team. He's someone that is very, very attacking generally, and like the Brentford game, I said, right, it was tactical when that's not the case, right? Where Munoz has been given the license to bomb forward, he's almost playing like an inside forward, right, where he's either supplying uh, to Mateta or he's taking on shots for himself. So, uh, I while I do have doubts about Palace, their prospects, right, with all the all the fixture pile up, right? They're playing a lot of games. They don't have a very big squad, so there's always the worry that you know maybe they'll fall off here and there. But I think we'll worry about that when it comes. As of now, I think Palace are looking good. The underlying data is undeniable. They have very strong underlying data, especially going forward, right? A very, very strong team in terms of attacking numbers. So uh, I think we have to take that on the face value and back the Crystal Palace players, right? Not backing them has proven costly, especially in my case. So I don't want to be stubborn and continue with that. So got him in this week, got 6 points, so pretty happy with that. To be honest, it's not really bad. Uh, Van Dijk, surprisingly, Liverpool kept a kept a clean sheet. It was a very strange game to me, right? When I watched the Villa versus Liverpool game, very strange because if you look at all the Liverpool games so far, uh, teams have destroyed Liverpool by playing direct football, by going over the top, playing the long balls. I don't know what Emery's plan was. They're trying to play stupid short passes, trying to play out from the back. Made an error which resulted in a gift to Salah. Right, he just got an open goal, and that's how Mo Salah ended up scoring. Which is funny because all those weeks when I had Salah in my team and he was not doing much. And the guy I didn't have because of Salah was Semenyo, and he was absolutely killing it, right? Semenyo was getting points left, right, and center. The moment I made the switch, I got Semenyo in and I took Salah out. And to make space for Semenyo back then, I took Krupi Jr. out as well. So Krupi Jr. got like I think a 13 pointer in the other game week, and since then Salah has been scoring points as well. But again, I'm not too fussed about that because it's just random events, right? Luck, bad luck, good luck, whatever you want to call it. I think it happens, right? No one has a mystery ball where they saw that Salah will be gifted a goal versus Aston Villa, right? It just happened. So not too bad. Apart from Van Dijk, yeah, he got me 5 points, but I'm really worried about Liverpool's defensive data, especially with the fact that Allison is out, and in general they're looking really bad. They seem like they concede a lot of big chances here and there, so it's not looking good for Liverpool, especially from a defensive perspective. Maybe they'll gel up later in the season, but as of now it's not looking good, especially if you look at their defensive data over the season. The other three defenders that I've got, remember, I was the first one in the entire FPL community to suggest that the way forward is, you should be brave enough to go ahead and get triple Arsenal defenders because they're such good value. And I think despite the fact that I got like 6 6 12 from Timber, Calafiori, and Gabriel, that's 24 points from three players at their price. I still feel I've been unlucky because when you watch the games, right, Calafiori is not a defender in real life. Yes, he starts, the starting position is left back, but when Arsenal are in possession, he's almost playing like a striker. And if you go by the eye test, he looks much better, much more attacking than Victor Gyökeres. So I feel I've been a bit unlucky in that regard, but that only means that the points will come. I'm very confident because I'm sure there'll be some game week where Arsenal will concede a freak, goal or two. It's just bound to happen, right? That's football, and in those kind of games, I feel having someone like a Timber and Calafiori will really benefit because they are the kind of players who can get you attacking returns in any game, right? That's the kind of play. So to me, I what the, the way I look at it is, I have one Arsenal defender in Gabriel who is a monster at set pieces and very good at defcon, of course. And apart from that, I have two Arsenal attackers in Timber and Calafiori that also get me clean sheet points. So this is my thinking. Timber and Calafiori will rarely get me defcon points, but to me they are attackers who are getting clean sheets points. And every single game week, I'm more confident about Timber and Calafiori getting an attacking return, even more confident than I am about Gabriel getting a corner goal or an assist. So that's the thinking, and I'm very happy with how it's going so far. The midfield is looking pretty dull. I took a punt on Mbumo, and I'm reasonably happy with having him in the team. I think I'm just gonna leave him in my team for the next 4 5 6 7 weeks. I think he'll do well. In the outside chance where, let's say, United get a penalty and Bruno decides not to take it, I am certain that there is a chance that Mbumo will take that penalty. So that was another factor that was playing in my mind. And in general, from an open play perspective, Mbumo looks very attacking. So yeah, pretty happy to have him in my team. And yeah, the rest of it, Semenya has been pretty dull since I got him in. He's not shithousing points anymore, but that's fine. I think the tougher fixtures for Semenyo are now past it. They have some nice fixtures coming up, so I think Semenyo will be back scoring goals, getting an assist here and there. I'm seeing some people are selling him, but I don't think that's the right play. I think you need to keep Semenyo if you already have him in your team because the tough fixtures are finally out of the way. I went with Mateta as my captain. I feel a bit unlucky because despite the fact that he got 9 into 2, I think he could have had more if you watch the game. I think Ismail Assar, a lot of times when he was in very good positions, he could have just played a simple pass to Mateta, and that would have resulted in an assist for Sar and a goal to Mateta as well. But I think this is just one of those games, and Sar is that kind of a player, right? He can be very frustrating at times for owners as well as non-owners. So I think Sar had a bad game in that sense. But 9 into 2 is not bad. I think Mateta looked really good. I got him in for Joao Pedro, and I'm very glad that I've got rid of that guy. Very comfortable having Mateta in my team over long spells. Uh, He's got very good XG data over the season. He's on penalties, and with Ankitia having his injury troubles, I think Mateta is just primed to get a lot of points in the coming weeks. So very happy to have him. Obviously, Haaland, he's been in my team. I was one of the few people who have Haaland since game week 1. Got 13 points. Uh, in the end, from a captaincy perspective, I didn't really lose a lot of ground by going for Mateta because remember, despite the fact that I'm not captaining Haaland, I still have him in my team. So going Mateta over Haaland at the end resulted in a net loss of just 4 points. So it's not the end of the world, and I'm glad I backed myself. And on another day, it could have been a bigger haul for Mateta. Having said that, I was still surprised with Bournemouth's approach, especially with the Bournemouth manager and his comments in the pre-match conference. Right, it really felt like they'll set up tight and they'll sort of mark Haaland heavily, which was not the case, and that was very surprising to me because they played a very high line against Haaland, and that's suicidal, right? You should not do that against Erling Haaland. He will punish you. And the fact that Ryan Cherky started uh, for Man City, and his link-up play with Haaland was terrific. I mean, it looked like the two have been playing together for years. It's almost like having Kevin De Bruyne back in the Premier League. That's how good he was. So we'll talk a bit more about Cherky later. I left Caicedo on the bench. That's my only regret. Maybe I should have started him over Semenyo. That was really the 50-50 decision that I was pretty much considering, all week leading into, game week 10. But I just felt that with the kind of matchup and with the kind of goals that City normally concede, I felt that Semenyo would have been the one if Bournemouth were to take City on the counters, right? If they were to score a goal from a counter, I felt that Semenyo could be that danger man, but it didn't quite happen. I think City defended well for large parts of the game, despite the fact that it was they got a goal back. To that stupid set piece where I feel that Donnarumma was fouled and it shouldn't have been a goal at all. But that doesn't really matter from an FPL perspective unless you have Donnarumma or Diaz in your team, and they're not really highly on players, so not much to discuss over there. But yes, I do regret benching Caicedo, and by the way, Caicedo has been a complete gem. Uh, all season he's been terrific, and he's just the kind of player, right? And this really talks about the football cycle that we are in right now, because if you look at Caicedo, all he's done from a standard FPL perspective, he's just got one assist. But because he is a player who's now also getting rewarded for DEFCON, so he gets 2 points for playing, 3 points for getting the assist, a point for a clean sheet because Chelsea didn't concede the goal versus Spurs. He got 15 DEFCON and he got two bonus, so just one assist, and Caicedo ends up on 10 points, and I think that's terrific. He's making a mockery of all the people who criticized Caicedo that he's not a good pick and all of that. I think the league has changed. I think the FPL landscape has changed a bit as well. And like I always say, it's time to adapt. It really is time to adapt. So yeah, that's about my team and my thoughts in general about how the game week unfolded. Uh, and because we're on the Caicedo talking point, right? Because before we uh, really proceed to the game week 11 discussion, I just wanted to talk about the whole football cycle thing, right? And I see a lot of frustration in the community, and like the example that I quoted about Bukayo Saka, where people have almost spent 10 million on Saka and he's not delivering, and that's not surprising because we just look at this, right? So let's head over to the Premier League chart. We are on the FootMob app right now. It's a really good app. I'd really love using it. And this is the XG table that we looked at in the last podcast as well, right? No surprises here. The top three teams: Arsenal, City, and Palace. The the numbers are there to be looked at. Just also going through the XG numbers here, right? So yeah, this is from an FPL perspective. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay. Now look at the top scorers in the Premier League this season, and this will pretty much explain what I'm talking about here. Now the football cycle has changed, right? And we have moved on from the possession football cycle, the football cycle where a lot of goals were scored and there were a lot of superstars. I think we are now entering a phase, or we have already entered a phase, and I think a lot of credit for that should go to Mikel Arteta, because he sort of realized this, I think, well ahead of others, where he's built a team that is not really relying on a superstar, right? He does not have an out and out star in terms of goal scoring or being the main man. Because if you look at the Premier League numbers, right, and if you go back to last season or the season before that or the season before that or the season before that, you always had multiple stars that were always competing with each other in terms of being the main, like the talisman of their teams, or competing with each other in, for the golden boot, for the assists. You had stars. Obviously Haaland has been here for a while, but you also had Mohamed Salah, Cole Palmer in recent seasons, Saka to an extent as well in a couple of seasons, Kevin De Bruyne while he was still here, Bruno Fernandes when he was playing the higher uh, advanced role, uh, Aguero back in the day, Harry Kane, Jung Min Son, Aubameyang before that, Sadio Mane. And every time, the reason why I'm mentioning these players is every time you would go to the Premier League top scorer chart, you would expect these players to be there, and they were always there. But now, in the 25-26 Premier League season, if you look at this, the Premier League goal scorer chart, tell me how many stars do you see here? Apart from Erling Haaland, who's absolutely on a different level. First of all, that that's the biggest factor here, that the superstar culture. Apart from Haaland, there are no superstars in the Premier League anymore, and the quality of Haaland is such that he's absolutely on another level. The only players that are at his level in world football right now are Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe, and that's about it. So Haaland is the only Premier League superstar uh, at this point. And look at the gap between Haaland with 13 goals, despite the fact that he's not scored a single penalty so far. All right, so no penalty, 13 goals. The next best after Haaland is actually Danny Welbeck and Antoine Semenyo and Thiago and Mateta with 6 goals. These players have 6 goals each. None of them are your typical superstar. So ideally, right, in any other season in the past, and I think this is the cause of disappointment in the FPL community, that we've almost sort of lived with this thought that the expensive players, the expensive attackers, they are entitled to be here, but that is not really true. No one is entitled to anything in football. The landscape is always changing, and the current landscape means that those players are not here. The Cole Palmer is obviously injured; he's not here. Saka, he's playing, but he's not at the same level because the football cycle now is very, very different. The way Arsenal are setting up, and they're setting up in a way that is getting the best out of all their players. The system that Arteta has set up for Arsenal to win football matches and eventually win the league, and that does not require Bukayo Saka to get a lot of goals. The mindset is completely different. The system is completely different. So Saka is not here. Salah has fell off a cliff, and that's having someone like a Florian Wirtz coming in, and Alexander Isak coming in. All of those things have not helped Salah either. So it's a player who is a legend of the game, but he's on a downward spiral. He's not going to get better. So. What I'm saying is that the football cycle has changed, and Ateta is among the very first managers who has recognized that and adapted to that perfectly, because we were sort of seeing signs of this, last season as well, and hats off to Ateta, the way he's done, and it's a commendable job, even as a City fan, right? I think he's he's been fantastic in that sense. So Haaland is out here with 13 goals, and then after that's a big gap. And if I go through this list, I don't see any superstars in the list. After the guys with 6 goals, we have Mbumo with 4 goals. We've got Krupi Jr. with 4 goals. We've got Jaden Anthony of Burnley with 4 goals. Isidore with 4 goals. And then all the way down, you have Mohamed Salah with one penalty goal and 4 goals in total. The main Arsenal attacker, Victor Gyökeres, with just 4 goals. And these are the kind of guys who are in the company of players like Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro, right? So what I'm saying is, if you take Salah for example, he's got 3 non-penalty goals. That's as much as Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes, and you don't really expect those kind of numbers from someone like a Mo Salah. But the point is that this is the reality. We can have all our wishes, right? We all want things to be a certain way, but the reality can often be disappointing, right? How are we going to do well in FPL? By acknowledging what is the reality, what are the facts right now, and adapting to that, right? What you wish may not necessarily happen, but if we recognize that, okay, these are the things that are happening right now, these are the events, this is the current trend in Premier League at this point, and we will then select players, based on that. I think if we apply that logic, a lot of things will change. So even if I just filter this out, right? Just putting the wingers filter here, this is not a lot of goals, right? Not a lot of goals at all out here, right? See, Mickey Van der Ven has 3 goals. That's as many non-penalty goals as Mohamed Salah. This is the reality of the league right now, right? Julian Timber very attacking. You look at your midfielders, right? You look at a Caicedo. Caicedo has as many non-penalty goals as Mohamed Salah. That is crazy. That is crazy. Uh, Declan Rice is also among the goals, and it's not like these are bad picks, because we always have this bias that Rice is a bad pick and Caicedo is a bad pick. No, the the FPL landscape has changed, and midfielders are now getting rewarded for their defensive actions as well. So someone like a Caicedo is a gold mine in that sense, right? Where he's actually perfect uh, for this new rule. I think he's likely going to end up with once. I've said it before, 170, 180, 190 points. I think that's the kind of uh, you know n- total points that Caicedo will end up with at the end of the season. And I'll be very surprised if these midfielders are at the same price next year. Caicedo will not be five. I think he'll be a 7.58 million midfielder next year. Even with Rice, I think it's very interesting. We just go and look at his data as well. I'll just take a sip of water meanwhile. So see, Caicedo is again, it's a very interesting case, because I don't really look at Declan Rice. I don't really look at him as someone who's very good at DefCon, but what's working well with him in particular is Arsenal's playing style. See, firstly, there's a fact that Declan Rice, he's on corners, so he has more route to points. His delivery is really good. The players that he's targeting from these corners and free kicks, and they're players like Timber, Calafiori, Merino, Gabriel, all very very capable, right? So he has good route to points that way, and also when he's not taking corners, when it's Saka taking the corners from the other side, and we've seen a lot of times that Rice is always in the box, so he may not immediately win the first header, but he's one of the first Arsenal players to attack the second balls. And that means a lot of times he'll have a free pop at the goal. So if it's Saka taking a corner, and let's say Gabriel is winning the corner and he's heading the ball down and it's falling to Rice, he's in a very good position to put that ball away and score that goal. Even in open play, every now and then he does make those runs inside the box, which again helps him get more FPL points. And he's on direct free kicks as well, so he could bang in a nice free kick every now and then. So I think from that perspective, not necessarily from DefCon, because I don't think Declan Rice will get a lot of DefCon points, but purely from Arsenal's playing style, I think he's a very good pick. He'll get he will not score every game. He'll not get an assist every game, but he's a steady pick, right? You can just have him in your team, leave him for like maybe 5, 6, 7 games, and he'll get you decent points, maybe 10, 12 points in a game on maybe 2 or 3 occasions, right? That's the kind of potential that he's got. And I do feel with Arsenal's playing style, he's probably I won't say he's a better pick than Saka, but if you, I mean, really, do you want to spend as much as 10 million on Saka? I think you rather go for Declan Rice, who comes for a much cheaper price. And yeah, he doesn't have penalties, but he does have a lot of route to points. But having said that, if you're just talking purely about Arsenal, I think you should just go three at the back, right? Get three of their defenders. Maybe Calafiori gets rotated in one of the games in December here and there, but I think that's worth the risk. That's absolutely fine. He's so attacking. He's so good, almost playing like a striker. I think he is definitely worth it. Yeah, I've spoken about how Caicedo is a decent pick as well. So yeah, that's pretty much my, I would say, thoughts about you know uh, the football cycle changing. And I think we should, as a community, the FPL community in general, we should crib less, less cribbing about how I read tweets about the game's gone and this and that. No, the game will always be there. We have no control over it. What's not working out is our own bias that's stopping us from acknowledging that certain players are not as good as they used to be from an attacking, from an FPL perspective. And we just need to acknowledge that, and make the right decisions. So yeah, I thought that was worth pointing out. Apart from that, we're just looking at the game week 11 fixtures, and from a general FPL point of view as well, there are a couple of players that I want to talk about. In particular, a Man City player that I think we should have in our watch list at least, if not in our teams right away. So I'll talk about him as well. And maybe United is an interesting one as well. I'm I'm a bit in two minds right now about Bruno's FPL potential, but I always keep reminding myself that Bruno Fernandes is the one that we're talking about, right? That he'll come good in the long run, because even the last game that we saw, and the one before that when I captained him against Brighton, uh, where he got, I think he got like two DEFCON and he ended up on 4 into 2 8. And I feel that that was quite unfortunate, because Haaland blanked against Villa, and Bruno could have had a haul in that game. To me, United is very interesting because I still see United fans are a little skeptical about their potential. And I don't think there is a cause of worry as such, uh, because their fixtures are now going to. I honestly feel that United had a very difficult start to the season, and they've done well to be where they are right now. So looking at the table here, we're looking at the XC table. I'll just go back to the current Premier League table out here. See, Arsenal are at the top with 25 points. City are second with 19. But then if you look at the third place team and the ninth place or even the 11th place team, right? There's not much gap between these. So the gap between a Liverpool and Bournemouth, who are on 18 points, and a United, who are eighth, is just 1 point. United are on 17 points. So I think things will only get better from United, and I'm really liking with the perspective of what I'm seeing from Mbumo from Open Play. I think he's terrific, and that is the reason why I took a chance and I got him in my team. Uh, in game week 10, and I think he'll do well. Some nice fixtures coming up for United. They play, I think Tottenham will be a good fixture, especially with what we saw in the Chelsea game, where I felt they were so open. Even Joao Pedro was taking shots against Tottenham. So I think they're a bad team, to be honest. Tottenham, it's pretty much a secret how they've managed to do well so far. They've got a decent goal difference. They are on 17 points as well, just like United, sitting fifth on the table. I think that is largely to do with the fact that Thomas Frank is a good manager, and he's got them good results in games you didn't really expect them to do well, and that obviously the freakish 3 point win they got against Man City. So they've got some nice fixtures coming up. I think the Everton game will be nice as well. Even the Palace game, I don't see Palace keeping a clean sheet in that. So from an FPL perspective, I think Mbumo and Bruno, right? I think they should do well. There's also, I know United fans are a little paranoid about maybe two United midfielders is too much, but I feel that play will only benefit anyone who's going for double United midfielders, because I keep talking about the fact that United don't have any midweek fixtures to worry about. They're not playing in Europe. They're out of the Carabao Cup as well. So while other teams, let's say when they're playing Tottenham and they're playing a Palace or any of these higher mid-table or top sides who are also playing in the Champions League or in Conference League, Europa League, whatever, United will have the fresh legs. So even if they start slow into the game, even if they have a bad start, right? Let's say they're one, the score is something like 2-1 or 3-1 against United. I think the tired legs will start showing towards the end of the game, and the last 15-20 minutes, or I would say even the last 30 minutes, for example, I think United can really take the game on and kill their opponent. So that's definitely going to be a factor. So I think I'm backing United to do well in the long run. And yeah, if you're looking out for a midfielder, because see, the midfielders are not really getting points. If you have someone like a Saka, uh, I think it's very much a viable move to take him out and bring in an Mbumo, for example, because Mbumo is looking all right. We'll also look at his underlying data out here. 1 second. Yeah, 10 games, 4 goals and 1 assist. And remember that with Mbumo's playing style, I think he'll also get non-football related assists. So if he's winning a penalty in a game, that's an assist in FPL terms, right? So I think he comes with multiple route to points. He's United's main man when they're attacking. Uh, Almost, I think to me, Mbumo is their main striker. Uh, Whenever I'm looking at their games, he's terrific. He is also capable of creating chances for himself, and he likes taking a shot uh, every now and then. So you look at his shot map out here. Again, we're looking at FootMob here. Uh, Really good data, and very easy to view, and you guys should check it out as well. So in the 10 games, Mbomo has like 24 shots, and a lot of those shots are coming inside the box. So I really like what I'm seeing from Mbomo, and I think these numbers will only get better with time. See, some of the shots that he's taking are so close, right? So I think it's only a matter of time before he starts getting a lot more goals and assists. I think that's pretty much inevitable. Yeah, 24 goals is sorry, 24 shots in 10 games is really good, and in general, just very good underlying data overall. In fact, I, right now looking at his numbers, you see that his expected assist is 2.52, which means that he's creating some really really good chances, but the other United players are not able to convert it. Maybe uh, because some of those shots are going to a Mount or a Casemiro or Cunha. We don't really have that data available right now. But the point is that Mbomo is also creating a lot of chances that are not being put away United players, and I think that will also happen. And Mbeumo will also get a lot more assists in the long run. And I think these are really good numbers because I remember last season when Mo Salah was really on that purple patch, right? At one point, he had like 10 or 11 assists from just 2.5 expected assists. That's very similar to the numbers that we're seeing from Mbumo right now. So that's how funny football can be sometimes, right? This assist number that we're seeing here, this could have been much higher. It could have been 5, 6, 7 on another day. I think that will sort of even out, over the course of time. And generally, I think it's very much normal for your actual assist number to be much higher than expected assists, right? So I think that Mbumo will do well in that regard going forward. And the other one is obviously Bruno. I saw some talk of Konya being a nice FPL, but I don't really think so. I think Konya is one of those players. See, when he was at Wolves, for example, he was the main man. At United, he's not the main man, but a lot of actions that he's doing now, and he's improved right now. He's releasing the ball much earlier. He's now playing the role where he drags defenders, and that's creating more space for Bruno, Sheshko, and Mbumo. So I think he's really helping other United players, especially an Mbumo or a Bruno, become much better FPL picks. But I'm not really sure how good Cunha himself is as an FPL pick. Maybe he'll score a goal every now and then, but I'm not sure that he's a viable FPL pick himself, right? Uh, Speaking of the underlying data, we'll also look at Bruno. Just like Mbumo has promising underlying data so far, not as many penalty area touches, but that's expected because, like I said, to me, Mbumo is really like United's main man. He's like their main striker. That's how I look at Mbumo. Bruno, on the other hand, is playing a much more conservative role, but that means he has more route to points. He's taking set pieces. It's the same story that we've discussed all over the entirety of the season. He's on penalties as well, been very unfortunate to miss the two penalties. Uh, these days, and especially in the last two games, I've noticed that he's really taking a lot more shots. So hopefully that's a sign that more assists and goals will come for Bruno. Uh, and yeah, that reflects in his underlying data. He's got just two goals so far, but he's been very unlucky because his expected goal data is really high. It's 4.37. So if you have Bruno, keep hold of him. I think the points will definitely come. Just two assists, I think that count should also be higher, right? So uh, very very keen to have, very happy to have Bruno and Mbumo both in my team, really, from a long term perspective. uh, Liverpool, I will not discuss much because I think it's really a team that is, like I said, it's on the downward spiral. They have a lot of issues, I feel, in terms of their build up. I think Arne Slot himself, despite the fact that he's bought Florian Wirtz and Isak and all these new players, I think he has no clue how to fit them in the team. I think the season is going to be a pretty much a write off, I think, for Liverpool. Really struggling. I think even in their win against Aston Villa, when Florian Wirtz sort of came on, I think he was really bad. He had a terrible game, and I have no idea how uh, Liverpool ended up keeping a clean sheet in that game. Even though the underlying data was very close, it felt like it was tight. But a lot of times, Aston Villa were just one bad decision away from, instead of a bad, if it was a good decision in the final third, they would have ended up uh, scoring a goal. So I think it was just purely down to Villa being worse than Liverpool, and that is why Liverpool ended up keeping a clean sheet in that game. And obviously, Salah was gifted that goal uh, by I think Emi Martinez, and just an open net, and he ended up scoring there. Even their striker situation is a bit, I would say it's a bit iffy right now. So we don't really know what's coming in that regard. I was just looking at Soboslai's DEFCON numbers. The thing is that either Soboslai or Gravenberg could have been decent picks, but I'm not really sure how. how good either of these players are in terms of DEFCON. But at the same time, I feel that if right now the way we are seeing the lineup, if Florian Wirtz plays instead of Soboslai, and Soboslai plays that Gravenberg role, I think he'll definitely get more DEFCON than Gravenberg. So that's something to keep an eye out, because when all these three are playing, right, McAllister, Gravenberg, and Soboslai, Soboslai is not really playing as the number 10. They're all just sort of running together, covering for each other, and just trying to make sure that all the traffic goes through the forwards and the number 9, which is again not happening at a very good level, because Salah has lost his legs. He's not the same player. Cody Gakpo is very predictable, but at the same time, I think he's a player that we can target for our teams, maybe around game week 12, because he's taking a lot of shots. Now the fact that a lot of these shots are just bad shots, but that is fine, right? It's okay if Liverpool are suffering, but if Cody Gakpo keeps taking these bad shots and that results in some FPL points for us, I think that's good news for us. So uh, I think he's the one to monitor. He does not have penalties or set pieces, that's fine, but listen, his price is not great, and especially in a season where not a lot of midfielders and forwards are doing well for points, I think Cody Gakpo could be worth a punt in the games to come. So I think after they've played City, he could be a decent pick, uh, but there will always be a worry that he could be benched for the odd game here and there. But at the same time, in terms of the underlying data, it's not that bad. Uh, the expected goals data is decent. He's got 3 goals so far. He's also doing well in terms of creativity, right? So he's pretty much a dual threat player where if you look at his numbers so far in the Premier League, he's giving you a goal or an assist every 2 games, which is not that bad, because not a lot of midfielders and forwards are doing very well so far this season. My only worry with Cody Gakpo is, as you can see from his expected goals on target data, that he is not a very efficient finisher. So when I say that, I'm not just talking about XG. What I'm saying is that a lot of times he makes, even though he's in a good XG position, right, he is more likely to not even test the goalkeeper, right? He'll just put it wide or whatever. Even his long distance shots are sometimes like that. So I think that's really reflective. If you see his XG is 2.96, that's almost 3 XG, but his XGOT is just 2.48. But like I said, his price is not he's not as expensive, almost half the price of Mohamed Salah, if I'm not wrong. So the price is not really a problem, and I think once Liverpool have played City, I think he could be a decent pick. In fact, personally, for my team, maybe what I'm considering is I could get him in for maybe Bruno, but not sure about that, or maybe even Semenyo. So if it turns out that Semenyo is not really the same player that he was, and which, by the way, was my worry. If you followed my content, I was always worried that Semenyo was on that purple patch, and that purple patch may be over. So I'll just look at Semenyo's data in a bit as well. I'll just take a sip of water. Like I always say, recording a podcast alone is pretty hard. It's pretty hard. Talking constantly for almost an hour now. So yeah, you're talking about the players that can make way for Cody Gakpo. So one of the players I mentioned Bruno, but like I said, right, if you look at Bruno's underlying data, he's not doing too bad. But we still, if we have to get Gakpo in our teams, we'll still need a spot, right? We'll still need a midfield spot to bring him in. So I think it's worth monitoring how Semenyo does, because since the Fulham game, so the assist that he got in the Palace game, I think it was a fluke assist, right? He was very lucky to get that assist, but really looking at the underlying data of Antoine Semenyo, see, the XG data is 0.13, 0.03, 0.03. He's doing absolutely nothing in terms of attacking or creating. One factor that I feel is responsible for this is the fact that I'll just let's go back to FootMob, right? I'll tell you why I think Semenyo has been struggling in recent weeks. A lot of people will just simply put it down to fixtures. I don't really think that's the case because right in game week one, Semenyo played Liverpool, and back then we didn't really know that Liverpool have defensive issues or whatever, but he still scored against Liverpool. He scored not once but twice against Liverpool, right? So don't think it's purely down to fixtures. I think it's down to playing style, and I'll tell you why I think that is the case. Is because initially in all those games, the player who was playing number 9 as a striker for Bournemouth was this guy, Evan Nilsson. Right now, Evan Nilsson is a very I think he's a very unique profile in terms of a striker, right? He doesn't take a lot of shots, for example, but he's good at some of the other things. If we look at his, player profile, for example, uh, he's the kind of guy who, you know, will do well in terms of holding the ball, uh, dragging a defender to or two with him, and that really allows someone like a Semenyo to attack the box even better, right? Now, because Evan Nilsson has been injured, see, look at his Evan Nilsson's underlying data, not really great, right? Just 1.29 xg, just one goal, not much happening in terms of the assist thing as well, right? He's not very creative, but I think what he does, his presence in the box, his hold up play, his link up and everything in and around the box, I think that was really bringing the best out of Semenyo. Now, what has happened is Evan Nilsson got injured, and the player that came in for Evan Nilsson is this kid. It's a 19-year-old French kid. Uh, Krupi Jr. is the player that I'm talking about. And Krupi Jr. is a very different profile to Evan Nilsson. And that also reflects in their numbers as well. Now, you look at Krupi Jr.'s Premier League data, he's featured in 7 Premier League games so far. He started just 3 of them, but he already has 4 goals. Okay, that's a big contrast. So in the limited time that Ruby Jr. has played, his underlying data is still much better than Ivan Nilsson, who was pretty much starting every single game when he was fit and available, right? So I think it's just down to the striker profiles where Rupi Jr. does not offer what Ivan Nilsson was offering, and that has limited Semenyo as an FPL option and in general for Bournemouth as well. I'm sure if you remember why my older episodes, right? I would talk about this factor every now and then where I feel that some of the games it was very obvious that Evan Nilsson has been asked to hold up the ball, and Semenyo has been given the license to attack the box. But in some games, it I saw a few games where the story was the other way around, where Semenyo was really just playing on the touch line, and Evan Nilsson was hawking the box and taking the shots. I think with Krupi Jr. is kind of the same, maybe because the manager of Bournemouth feels that Krupi Jr. does not really have the maturity to provide the link up play, hold up play of Evan Nilsson, right? So he's purely using Krupi Jr. as the box striker, where he's hogging the box and he's the main, guy expected to put away those shots, for example. And that's the reason why Semenyo has been, holding the width, and he's not looked very much involved in in the last few games, especially since Evan Nelson has been out. So it's just I thought I'd mention that as something that we can just monitor in the long run. Now that Evan Nelson is back, we don't know if he'll immediately start the next game or not. But I still feel that it's something that is definitely worth monitoring, right? Uh, Otherwise, Semenyo has been. I feel he's been so lucky in some of the games, right? I mean, against was it the Fulham game? Yeah, the Fulham game where he just scored a goal from absolutely nothing. And in general, right, this guy likes taking the shot. Like, you're looking at his shot map. Look at this shot, for example. This is crazy because he just banged it. It will be very interesting which game this was. Was it the yeah, was it the game yesterday? Yep, it was the 3-1 City game where he just I think he saw Donnarumma out of the line, and he just took a shot that was not even from the halfway line. It was even further from his own half. Semenyo, and he just took this wayward shot that luckily Donnarumma ended up saving. So that's just the kind of player he is, right? He likes taking a shot every now and then, but that's not been happening in the last 2 3 games. So worth monitoring if it turns out that the factor is not Krupi Junior. It's an instruction from the manager himself where he's told Semenyo that listen, I don't want you to attack the box anymore. You stay wide, hold the width, and you supply the chances we'll create for whoever's playing the striker. It could be a Krupi Junior, it could be Ivan Nilsson or whoever. So I think that will be worth monitoring. But if it turns out that Semenyo is not doing well, uh, over long spells, it's worth monitoring. I think he is playing. Uh, who are Bournemouth playing next? They're playing Villa next, then they play West Ham, then they play Sunderland. So I think it's the Villa game will be worth monitoring, right? If it turns out that the trend continues with Semenyo, where 4 games running he is not really attacking the box much, I think then we could have a decision to make where we probably take him out and bring in Cody Gakpo because the price is also very similar now. So I don't think the money thing should be an issue. So yeah, if you want to get Gakpo in your team, I think it's worth doing it. Personally, for me, this is what my thought process is going to be because I think Bruno is reliable over longer spells. So if I do decide to make the move, we'll just look at Van Dijk's fixture to get an idea of what Gakpo's fixture will look like. Yeah, I think in 12 they've got Nottingham Forest and West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton. I think they're good fixtures for Liverpool attackers, and especially for Gakpo, who looks like he's the most involved in that Liverpool side, and the fact that his price is good. I think in game week 12, Semenyo to Gakpo is probably not a bad shout at all. Last but not the least, I want to talk about a Man City player that I feel should be in our FPL teams very soon, right? And I'm talking about him once again before any FPL content creator does. If you follow me on Twitter, the moment I saw Ryan Cherky in Man City's lineup, I tweeted that he's going to score or assist today, right? Because having followed him over the years and the kind of profile, he's a very rare, I would say he's a dual profile. By dual profile, I mean that dual threat profile. I mean that there are very rare profiles that can give you both goals and assists, right? So that's very rare that I'm surprised the City got him for like just 30 million, and there are not a lot of clubs that wanted to sign him. So such a unique, such a beautiful profile to have. And whenever he's on the pitch, you just know he is going to try to be involved in the goals, and the striker, the player that he will be creating for is actually Erling Haaland, who's one of the greatest players of all time, right? And he's absolutely the best player in the world right now, the best striker in the world, the best goal scorer in the world right now. So I think that all bodes well. So I tweeted about this right away yesterday. I was not surprised with, I think just with obviously with Ryan Cherky and all his quality on the ball, right? I think what really makes him stand out, compared to other players. And I think this is why he's such a good signing for Haaland and for City, and also a very good FPL option, is because he's so quick in terms of the way he thinks. You look at the first goal that City scored immediately. The long ball. I think it comes from Nico Gonza, and it comes to Turkey, and he does not even think twice. He just heads it because he knows Haaland is going to make that run, and he heads it so perfectly. It's almost like a training drill that we saw. And Turkey knew, we all knew that Haaland was going to score that chance. So I think he has that awareness how to set things up for a striker, which means he'll get lots of assists. Uh, over the season. You just look at his underlying data in the Premier League so far. He just started two games, right? One game was a very tricky game against Tottenham, and the others have just been, you know, substitute appearances. He did play in the Carabao Cup game against Swansea, where he got a goal, got an assist. I think he looked terrific, which is why I was quite confident that he will get a start against Bournemouth, which he did, by the way. And I think it's only going to get better from here for Turkey, right? Uh, Once he gets regular minutes, which I think he will, it'll be worth monitoring what the lineup looks like for Man City midweek. And I think I definitely see a world where in the Liverpool game Ryan Cherky starts, gets a goal or an assist, once again. And it was very interesting because in the post-match conference when Cherky was, I think he's giving an interview in French, and I read the translation, and he constantly spoke about the fact that one, the manager wants other players also to contribute towards goals, and he looks at himself as someone who can definitely score more goals and help Haaland. So that was something that was very interesting to me. He also spoke about the fact that he was very happy with the two assists that he got in the Bournemouth game, and he spoke about the fact that he hopes that he gets another 20 assists in the rest of the season, which means he's a player who's constantly thinking about numbers, about landmark figures, right? He's not there to just participate and have a good game. So he got two, and he's already thinking about 20 assists, right? So that's going to be a lot of FPL points if he gets anywhere close to 20 assists, right? And you're assuming with the quality that he has, he'll definitely score a few goals here and there, right? He could be in for a monstrous season. So the underlying data of Turkey has always been good. If you go back to his Champions League data in the past, uh, when he was playing for Champions League, Europa League, wherever he was playing, or even the League One data for for uh, for Lyon, and whatever little game time he's had with France, he's looked good in those games as well. So I think in FPL also his price is pretty decent if I'm not wrong. We'll just filter it and look at these Man City players. Where is Ryan Cherky? There he is. Just 6.3. Trust me, if he has a big game against Liverpool, a bandwagon will definitely kick off. And once he's played Liverpool, once he's played Newcastle away, then look at the fixtures from game week 13: Leeds, Fulham, Sunderland, Palace, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland again. 13 to 19 is a gold mine, right? And if he's performing well, I don't see any reason why Pep will bench him. So the price is really good. 6.3 is excellent. I think he should be in all our watch lists, and get him in before he has these 2 3 games where he does really well, and then the content creators talk about him, and then you get him in, right? He would have already scored 20 30 points by then. And I think the signs are there, and he brings something that not a lot of City. I think no City player has the profile of Ryan Cherky. Phil Foden cannot offer what Cherky does. Tijani Reinders is not of the same quality. He's a very different profile, and the fact that Reinders is he's not even playing well, to be honest, right? And Bernardo Silva is obviously old now. He's very good in terms of running and offering the work rate. But I think Cherky is a unique profile, and he's going to score some goals. He's going to get a lot of assists, and I think he's a fine FPL pick himself, and he makes Haaland even better of an FPL pick, right? I tweeted the other day where I said that I see a world where I think during the treble winning season, Haaland got something around 75 goals and assists for club and country that entire season. Okay, and I just tweeted that I really feel that he could end up with almost 90 goals and assists this season for club and country, and we're talking about Erling Haaland. And I think if Turkey, given what we've seen, and if Pep does the right thing, right, if Pep does not overcomplicate things, if he gives Cherky 60, 70, 80 minutes every single Premier League game, Cherky will obviously break records, and Haaland will also break multiple records this season, which means a lot of points for us in FPL, right? That's the whole point. This is not a City fan a fan discussion. We just we're just discussing all these things in terms of how this will benefit us for our FPL teams, right? So I think if you have a spot of someone like an Endai or another 6 million player that's not doing too well, I think you can get ahead of the curve by getting Jerky in. The other option is obviously you go for Ismaila Sarr if you don't really have him. Someone like a Minte as well, but I'm not really convinced with what I see from Minte. It is very strange that he got two assists in that uh, the Leeds game. I'm not convinced about any Brighton player, honestly. I don't think they should be in our FPL teams. Maybe Danny Welbeck. But with Welbeck, I always have this thing that I just know that with his injury record, right? I know that he's going to be randomly benched in some game, or he'll get injured, right? So I'm not quite sure, especially in a season where strikers are not doing well. I think the what I would suggest is you just go with Haaland, Mateta, and a 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 forward, whatever you have. I have Mark Gui. You can go for Krupi Jr. or anyone else, and then invest the rest of the money in your defense and midfield. My throat is almost gone. I've been talking for almost an hour now. Yeah, we. Oh, sorry. We'll wrap this up very quickly. So yeah, I was talking about if you don't go for Turkey, I think you can. Then you just go for you keep it simple and you go for Ismail Assar. But remember, Sar can be a bit frustrating to own. He's the kind of player who will get you a lot of two points, and then suddenly he'll get you 15, 16, 13, 18, whatever, right? So just be prepared for that. You bring Sar and you leave him on for a few weeks. With Sar, I generally feel he tends to do well in the difficult fixtures, which is not a surprise when Sar normally ends up scoring against a team like Liverpool, for example, right? So yep, yep. Keep an eye out on Sar, and if you're bringing him in, like I said, be patient. If you get Sar, leave him in your team for 2, 3. If he blanks in one or two, ignore the blanks, right? Keep it. He's a bit of a streaky player, and he tends to haul in very very random games. But yeah, I think that Ryan Cherky is definitely worth a shout. Uh, anyway, and we've spoken a lot about him already, so I will not go any further into that discussion. Uh, I think that's it. I've pretty much covered a lot of things that I wanted to discuss. Not much to discuss otherwise, right? In terms of general trends, like I said about the football cycle, changing. That this is the reality. DefCon is the reality. So we need to, target players that are obviously defense minded, players who get recovery points and don't go on reputations anymore, because like I said, reputations in the Premier League have changed now. The superstar culture is gone, except for Haaland, who's the outright superstar in the Premier League right now. And yes, while someone like a Bruno is definitely a viable pick in FPL, I'm just saying that he's not the same Bruno that we thought he was in FPL, because he used to be a proper number 10. Now he's a deeper lying playmaker who gets DEFCON, and he could also get a goal or assist every now and then. Still a very good player. He's a world class player in real life, but the FPL prospects are not the same what it used to be, right? Uh, in terms of captaincy, Haaland is playing against Liverpool, and I think that's a terrific captaincy shout. I think it's again, despite the fact that I do like, you know, m- making some experiments, taking punts here and there, like captaining Mateta last week, Bruno before that, for example. But I've always maintained since game week one that Erling Haaland you can captain in every single game week. I personally go against the cloud every now and then, because that's just down to my personality. I play to have some fun, and I get that adrenaline rush if my differential captain ends up outscoring Haaland. But that's just purely my style of play. As an advice, I always say you have to back Haaland. Now, as a generic advice as well, Haaland on paper, from a difficulty, fixture difficulty perspective, has Liverpool at home. I think that's a good captaincy fixture anyway, right? I mean, Mateta is my captain in the bus team. You can just ignore that for now. Maybe I'll captain Mateta or Haaland or whatever later on. But I'm just saying, as a general consensus, Liverpool at home for Erling Haaland is a terrific fixture, right? So you have to back Haaland, and his ownership will also be very high. But let's say that you want to go for another captain where you feel that okay, this is the week to take on Haaland, right? Where he's got a slightly difficult fixture as per the official FTR, which I don't quite agree with. But let's say you want to, you feel that you're not comfortable captaining him against Liverpool. I think Bruno is a fair shout because of the reasons that we've just discussed, and Bomo is also a very good shout because we just saw that what Chelsea did to Tottenham, and the thing is that it's an away game, and Tottenham will look at United as a winnable fixture, right? Because it's also about the ego, the reputation. They're not going to sit back and let United have the ball. And I think that really plays into United's hands at the same time, where I think Mbomo could have a lot of joy on the counter, right? So I think Mbomo and Bruno, I expect both of them to do really well in the Tottenham game. So if you're looking for a slightly differential captaincy shout, I think Mbomo is a decent pick. Bruno is a decent pick as well. Not sure about Semenyo honestly because he's not looked the part, and like I said, we should really wait and watch. In terms of what is really going on at Bournemouth, is there a tactical shift? Is Semenyo being asked by the manager to hold the width, or was it purely because Evanilson was not playing, and whether Evanilson comes back into the team or not? Otherwise, we can take Semenyo on out of our teams and bring in someone like a Cody Gakpo. But coming back to the captaincy discussion, Mbomo and Bruno Fernandes are definitely decent shouts in terms of captaincy. I think a very outside shout would be if you have got Jared Bowen in your team. I think you know on paper it's as easy as it gets. I think West Ham looked really good against Newcastle, and that's not surprising because they have a really good manager and he's trying to change things. But yeah, I mean, if you're the fixtures guy, I think Bowen versus Burnley could be a decent shout. Not a shout that I would personally do, but just for the fixtures guys, right? If you are the ones who are like, oh, I should target Burnley, then yeah, you can go ahead with it. Chelsea versus Wolves could have been an interesting one, but the Wolves manager has now been sacked, so there could be a case where it's a new manager bounce, and whoever the new manager is comes in maybe first tightens it up at the back end. So I feel it could be a little tricky for Chelsea to score goals in that game. So I wouldn't go there in terms of captaincy. But yes, if you have someone like a Caicedo, I think Caicedo is the best Chelsea option. I've said it for months, right? The best Chelsea option. If you still somehow have Joao Pedro, I think you keep him for Wolves and Burnley. Personally, I've taken him out. But if you still have him, yeah, might as well give him the next two fixtures. Keeping that in mind, another captaincy shout that I really like is the captain of my bus team before I just made the change. Just from a general viewer's perspective, right? Because if you have Haaland, the sensible thing is that you should always captain Haaland. But speaking of differential captains, I think Mateta could really be a good shout as well. Brighton generally are an attacking team. They like to be adventurous. They like to press, and I think that will again, just like the example I used of Tottenham and United. I think just like Mbumo, I think Mateta, Munoz, and Sarr will also have a lot of joy. And given the fact that Mateta is Crystal Palace, their main man, he gets the most XG for that team. Uh, he's the center of their attack, right? He's their main man also on penalties. I think he could be another very good captaincy shout. But I think Haaland is a fair shout as well, right? So if you just want me to like rank the captaincy shouts for the week, I'll just go probably Haaland at one, Bruno and Mbumo both at number two, and Mateta at number three. I think they're all decent options. I will not be surprised if they all come back with some sort of attacking returns in the game. But yeah, why take the risk? You just captain Haaland, right? And Liverpool are bad defensively, so I think Haaland will do well. Could be a goal or two, or you never know. Every game so far I've watched, right, I felt that Haaland could have had a hat trick, and I think maybe this Liverpool game is the game where actually Haaland ends up scoring a hat trick. So we'll see, we'll see. So yeah, I think a lot of talking points, a lot of things that we've discussed in the sport already. We spoke about the changing football cycle. There was a lot of DEFCON discussion. Uh, we covered Mbumo United, uh, Ryan Cherky, Semenyo, Bournemouth attack, the whole Evan Wilson factor in general, and a lot of things. Right, it was quite a lengthy podcast. Again, I've spoken to for almost 75 to 80 minutes now on a trot. But again, it was great chatting with you guys. I'm glad I could record this pod again. Uh, any thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Good, bad, whatever. Uh, Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, please. It really is just one click, and it really helps. Keeps me motivated to create content every now and then. Follow me on Twitter as well. I do tweet a lot of football related things on Twitter. So yeah, follow me on Twitter as well. From my team's perspective, I've not made my moves yet. I still have my free transfer. I'll just see if I can figure out a way to get Ryan Cherky in my team. But yeah, nothing is set yet. Uh, I think I'll probably leave it late. Overall, my team looks good to me. I'm very happy with what I've got, to be honest. So I'll probably leave it the way it is right now. Maybe I take Semenyo out for a Cherky. I don't know, right? Just my personal thoughts, right? I wouldn't advise you to do that. I like making some crazy moves here and there, right? I'm a bit desperate to get out of this 1.5 million rut. I want to be out there in and around the top 100K by game week 15, 16, 17. So that's the whole idea. But yeah, anyway, like I always say, subscribe to my channel, drop a like on the video. Uh, any questions, you let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me through my Twitter, through my X handle, @Syed Zeesh. And until then, it's a goodbye.